Welcome back to season 4. Welcome back to Colorful Voices of Sisterhood. I have missed you guys. I was gone on the last taping. I'm enjoying my time in Denmark, and I want to say that is the most friendliest country I've ever been in. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Denmark, for being so hospitable to me and Johnny. We really enjoyed our time there. Today, we're going to be talking about rising above criticism. And we have joining us is Diane LeBlanc, which is an inspirational speaker originally from East Cleveland, Ohio. The military brought her here to our community, as most people come to our community through the Marine Corps. She likes to say she is a Yankee by birth and Southern by the grace of God. I hear you, Diane. She has taught school, raised 3 kids, and now has 11 grandchildren. How blessed you are. Oh, my goodness. She served as a minister to youth and children for 9 years and a pastor for 15 years. She retired in June of 2024 after serving the state of North Carolina for 11 years. And we are so glad you are here. She has been married to her husband, Jeff, for almost 46 years.
Wow, congratulations.
That's awesome. You must really like him.
I do. I really do.
Okay, well, ladies, I don't know if you guys heard about the incident that happened in Charlotte. Tragic stabbing took place on the public transportation there by a gentleman who has some mental health challenges, diagnosed as schizophrenic. And the victim was a Ukrainian.
Beautiful young woman.
She was beautiful, yes. And one thing about Ukrainians, I don't know if it's stereotyped or not, but they're all beautiful. Yeah. Every time I see Ukrainian, they are absolutely beautiful. But tragedy, once again, we're talking about mental health.
She was just pretty much sitting there on the bus, and that, of course, can happen to anybody. But to address the mental health issue of it, is it being just looked over? Are we addressing what needs to be done? Was he on his med or not on his meds?
Yeah. And that's why I'm wondering, when you're schizophrenic, you have to be medicated. You have to be medicated or institutionalized. Obviously, he wasn't institutionalized. So I guess it comes... What's his medical treatment?
He took his meds.
Who's responsible for that for him? Schizophrenic can't do it themselves,
And people who has that, they're pretty sensitive as well. Because I know he got there first before the beautiful young woman, right?
Yeah.
I was telling this to my husband, I wonder when she gets in, I wonder if I don't know. It doesn't show in the video. I wonder if she give him a glance and I don't know,
Yeah. I think it was just the person who sat there. I really do. I think it could have been anybody who sat there.
Well, it seemed like it was really, it absolutely was really random. When you look at the video, he's got his head leaned against, the window. And it's almost bizarre because I found myself wondering what was going on in this young man's head. He's just sitting there. He sees her sit down. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like, I don't know, like he just went off in his head or I'm not really sure how to say that, but something just snapped. That's the word I want. Something snapped and he did what he did.
And I think that's the part about the mental illness, though. A person who is not, is a stable mind and body would not do something like that. So I guess it really comes to what is our state or, our country, for example, doing about mental health. Because I don't want to say I don't hear about this happening in other countries, but it seems like it happens a lot in the U.S.
Yeah.
Well, Chris Thomas, who is the sheriff here in Onslow County at one of the last Republican women's meetings, was sharing that the rise in suicides in Onslow County has significantly increased. So it really begs the question, like, what is really happening to our young people, our young adults? I mean, just everybody, you know, that we care about, and people in our community. And I think it's a call to action personally.
Yes.
I think, you know, we really need to lobby our legislators and make sure that they understand that we're really concerned about what's happening in our community, and just it's time for the public to speak. Sometimes we feel like our voices don't get any attention, but I firmly believe when we come together as a strong community, and especially as the Sisterhood of Women, you know, we absolutely can affect change. And so we just gotta keep pressing it out and see what happens.
You said a good thing, but as we come together, because we have to let some of the differences go to do what needs to be done for the benefit of what's right. Because here, when they go into the hospital, it's like a revolving door. They're coming in, trying to get meds. And some of them are, you know, on drugs. So they just kind of looking for drugs going out. But what is there to actually help them?
Right. Yeah.
Because I think we do a lot of talking and we don't hold people accountable.
We need action.
And
we need action, real action.
And that's why I want to address the individual who took the young lady's life. Is who's responsible for that? Who was responsible for one? Why was he not institutionalized for his illness, or was he seeing a professional? You know, those are the answers I want to know. But instead, we're focusing on, you know, a lot of other stuff, but not addressing that mental health piece. Once again, we're not addressing that mental health piece.
And even saying that, Raquel, he used a knife, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything I know like that could detect a weapon or anything getting up there on the bus? But I mean, the driver probably didn't know he was schizophrenic.
Yeah. You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You would not know that he was. But you're right. I mean, and then incidents like that happen so quickly, you know, I even picture myself, you know, what if I was sitting behind him? Would I have been able to react fast enough to stop it from happening? So there's I guess a lot of scenarios a person could learn from that situation, because how would I have reacted? Or, you know, if I was in that individual shoes, and then someone attacks me from behind so randomly like that, you wouldn't expect
never
it.
know. Yeah,
I would not expect it.
Well, I think one of the shock factors too is there were all those people sitting there right
Close
there,
by.
and they failed to engage. They didn't act, and of course, you know, this has also brought up the issue with the young man who rescued the gentleman. The story, I can't remember his name, but what happened in New York City, and then he goes to court, and it's kind of like, here he is trying to help the individual that's being attacked, but because he chose to do that, he was he got in trouble for that.
Yeah.
That's the way.
So there's not a protection.
I know,
not
exactly.
protected. Ooh,
So
a lot to discuss on this. A lot to discuss. You know, we'd love to hear your guys' opinions and feedback on that. Definitely will be reviewing and looking at your guys' comments and answering as they pop up. But we'll go ahead and move on to our topic of today, which is rising above criticism. So, Diane, we are so glad to have you here and help us with that, because there's so much criticism in this world. So much. I mean, it starts young too.
It does.
Elementary school. They're criticized on what they're wearing, on what their hair looks like. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It is.
So we got to learn to rise above that. So Diana, let us know what do we need to do?
Oh my goodness. Well, the criticism, you're right, Raquel, really starts a lot of that at home. We really are a product of our background, our home life. And so if we come out of a family that's very critical, then we, in essence, become that same way, because it's a learned behavior. You know, when it's happening in our home, it's like, okay, well, obviously this is an acceptable behavior. And so I feel like the first part of it is families need to understand, and parents specifically need to understand that the home needs to be a place that's very a very safe place. It's like your safe zone. I mean, I think that's a hot word or phrase right now, but we should feel loved and accepted when we're in our home. And if we don't, then we're gonna have that same kind of behavior with other people. One of the things that I was thinking about just in preparing for our time together today is, and I have dealt with criticism in my life. I think we all have. I'm not sure we would be honest to say, no, I've never dealt with criticism in my life, because we just all do. One of the things I've realized about criticism is that a lot of times people use criticism as a way to help themselves feel better. In other words, if I can criticize you, then and make you feel less than, then I feel better about myself. Now that's some really what I call stinking thinking, because it is.
I like that stinking thinking.
It is stinking.
I'm gonna use that stinking thinking.
Yeah, and so and people do that, and I think that goes to people that are insecure. Criticize
Definitely.
Narcissist
Oh, a narcissistic.
tendency now. Okay.
So, and yes, you'll see that a lot in people that have that kind of behavior where, it's all about them, and it's like the world revolves around them, but the world doesn't revolve around them. But that's that thinking, stinking thinking, Raquel. And so it's, the hard question really is, well, how do you get people to move away from being so critical? No, I have to tell you that I was raised in a family that there was a lot of criticism, and I struggled with feeling very positive about myself. And I think that's what criticism in your home life and in your formative years. And I've seen this a lot. Well, that's what happens. You feel like I'm not worthy of anything. I'm not good enough. I mean, and you're dragging this baggage around with you. And
to really bring down your self-esteem.
Oh, yeah.
You got low
It does.
self-esteem, no confidence. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I really think then parents really need to take a step back and think about what they're saying to their children.
We might need to go back
The
a generation though, because there's a lot of grandparents are raising because the parents are really young.
Yeah.
So they don't really know because they're so young.
right.
So the grandparents, there needs to be some solid foundations in the household.
Exactly.
I think also not 100% are all criticism. Constructive criticism is good sometimes. While my kids were little before, I mean, if I say like B plus, you can do better than this. You can do A.
Right.
And they do because of the way, I guess, we approach them.
Right.
Positive. That's
And
good.
yeah, and it's always helpful. I love what you said, Agnes, because it's about, well, there's a higher bar.
Right.
And I think part of that constructive criticism, which is incredibly helpful if we're receptive to it, helps us to attain that higher bar and to be better, to be the better person that we can be. And so,
especially if you know that they can do it.
exactly. Because a lot of times, there is the self-doubt, and I just feel like one of the most important things we can do is just to speak positive into people's lives. And so when it comes to handling criticism, when we're speaking positively into somebody's life, it starts to dispel. And criticism really is lies. I wanted to share with you all something of a drawing that I saw, and it was this picture of this little boy. And it was like there were these hands around his neck, but the hands were made up of all these comments that were critical and just things that would
Negative
tear
words.
somebody's heart apart. Exactly. And the little boy, he's looking up. So you get the sense that he's looking at a parent, but these tears are rolling down his face. And I thought, that's not, I don't want to be this person.
He's consumed.
He was. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Choked by that criticism. And so we all should strive to be the people that are encouraging and that are releasing that, the criticism and helping individuals be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned, Diane, to use positive words because that could change the meaning on what you say to somebody. So by saying, I don't know, clumsy. Clumsy to me is a negative word.
Right.
A lot of people say their child is clumsy. Well, I wouldn't say clumsy. They're still learning to do what they need to do.
Exactly.
So I think word choice is important when parents are talking to their children and addressing them. So maybe that's something we parents as a whole need to look at positive word usage.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, as far as like criticism from your families, I think that's probably one of the biggest things that individuals deal with. You'll hear people talk about how they really don't want to go to see their family for the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, because they know what's going to happen, and they're kind of forecasting that this is going to be a really difficult situation, and so. When we're going into a situation like that, we kind of have to get our game face on, for lack of a better phrase. And we just have to, like, who am I in this family? And a lot of times it comes to how we speak to ourselves. We can speak to ourselves with words of criticism, or we can speak to ourselves with words of encouragement and hope. Like, Agnes, to say to yourself, wow, I did a really good job with that. Now, ladies, let's just call it what it is. Sometimes we have to pat ourselves on the back, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think it's over the top to do that. And and it's not pompous arrogance in any ways, but sometimes, we have to do that. And so, I think that's part of it, is we just have to go in figuring out, and it could be the family, it could be the workplace, when our kids go to school. So I know I'm chatting a lot, but I do have one example.
Too.
Well, I do have one example really quick. When we were out on recruiting duty and we were living on the Air Force Base in the town that we lived in, our daughter Danielle had a friend that she liked to play with. Now, this friend these girls were only 4 years old. But this 4-year-old friend was very controlling at the age of 4. So that was a little telling. But anyway, she came home one day and she said, Mommy, she goes, I don't like playing with my friend Rachel. She goes, she always makes me do things that I really don't want to do. And I said to her, Danielle, is Rachel really a friend then? 4-year-olds understand things because it always hits their heart first. They have, it takes some difficulty for them to process, but it hits the heart. And so we had the conversation and she's like, Mommy, you're right. She isn't good for me to have for a friend. And those are the things and conversations we can have with our children that prepare them to deal with criticism once they enter school, once they enter the workplace, once they enter adulthood, and even dealing with things, within the family.
Yeah. Or even relationships.
Yes.
Relationships can be toxic.
Yes.
With criticism involved in it.
Very, very.
So I love the idea that, at a young age, at 4, she identified it. But, there's some people that don't see it at all.
Right.
And those are the ones I worry about ending up in toxic relationships and not realizing they're in a toxic relationship. So how would we, if we see that, bring attention to that individual?
sometimes we have to have really hard conversations with people, and we have to say things that they really don't want to hear. I mean, let's just be honest. It's kind of like identifying and naming the elephant in the room, right? And so I think, okay, first of all, and I just want to say this: I am a deep woman of faith. I think the first thing we have to do is pray our way into that conversation. You know, just pray for the words that we need to speak that are going to encourage them and help them to see what they're really dealing with. But it really is addressing that. If in the conversation we can get them to acknowledge that they're in a toxic situation or relationship, wow, that's like a game changer. Because then they are the ones, we kind of let them there, but they're the ones that made that self-discovery. And so I think that's really important. But speaking to them, helping them to see, do you understand how this is a toxic relationship? And then encouraging them, you know, if there's any, you know, I will just keep up with you. We'll have some accountability here. I'll call you in a couple days. Let's see how it's going. A lot of times with toxic relationships, you know, especially if it's a romantic relationship, that's the part where it's really hard because we live in this culture of...
They use this a lot, not this.
Right.
But I have a question, Diane.
Okay.
Do you think being criticized and being bullied is in the same path?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. So my initial response, Agnes, is this. I think sometimes, depending on the level of confidence in self, that criticism can be perceived as bullying. You know, when we grew up in school, we didn't call it bullying, but are there bullies? Absolutely. You know, when it's consistent over and over and relentless. But I think there would be people that would say it was criticism, but they would call it bullying. Absolutely. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
And Diane, I want to go back to the one that you was talking about relationship. Sometimes you have to give people a scenario, like actually they're in that situation, but you're giving them the scenario just to see how they're going to respond.
Exactly.
Because you're actually talking about them.
Right.
And that makes them think, oh no. So now I want you to think about you being in that situation.
Right. Yeah. That's a really good point, Diana. And I would agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that does lead to the self-realization and the, you know, oh, I'm that person.
And giving them words of affirmation. I did do with my grandkids and my kids. I want you to think I am beautiful. I am wonderfully made by God. I don't care what nobody say about you. This is what the scripture says.
Absolutely.
And so they can get it in their heart.
Yeah.
And you know, you teach them not to be a bully.
Right.
You teach them that you're one paycheck away from being on the street too, baby. That's the way I told mine. We're one paycheck away.
I love my niece when I go stay with her. She's got them written on her mirrors. Like, you are beautiful, or today's the best day.
Yes.
You know, something she sees first thing in the morning. So that brightens up her day. And it starts the day off right.
Like what we were talking at the last episode, last topic 2 weeks ago. You're going to be your own cheerleader. Who does but yourself?
Exactly. And if we don't love ourselves, how are we going to love anybody else? I mean, you can't pour out of an empty vessel, right? And so, absolutely, I guess that's a really good word. And so, I love what you shared about your niece that writes all those things, and daily affirmations are really important. And Diana, what you shared, you know, about your children and your grandchildren, some of it just is pouring in and speaking those things. And, you know, you believe it. It's like reading scripture. You read the same passage 5 times. It's going to speak to your heart differently 5 different times, but those seeds are being planted in the soil of your heart and your mind. I loved what you said, Agnes, earlier about sometimes the head and the heart just don't come together.
Yeah.
And I think the more we plant those seeds, things just start to connect
Correct.
better.
And then when they go to school or wherever, they're positive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because even when somebody come to them, it's in their mind. I'm like, my daughters, they do like your niece. They have affirmations everywhere, which made me started doing it. So when I get up in the morning, I got to pause because I'm going to read that before I start my day. But if we could get people to really do that, and even teachers,
Right.
because sometimes they go to school positive. When they get to school, teacher got a bad day.
Exactly.
There goes his, you know?
Yeah.
But they're overwhelmed. They're overworked.
They are.
You know?
They really
Yeah.
are.
And that's a huge responsibility. You know, when you look at the teachers and what they do throughout their day, that's a huge responsibility that's on them. So you're right. I'm sure they feel criticism all the way around. I wonder, as parents, because I'm always focusing on the parent thing, because I think that's where a lot of the learning takes place is. So if a person watching our show right now realizes they are part of the problem and not the solution, so to say, so they're critical on other people, how do you change that behavior? How does a person change from always being critical of somebody to not?
So I think that's just really difficult, because if you have come up in your formative years and that's what you know is criticism, it's really hard. It's kind of like you're going, you know, one direction in the ocean, and you got to stop the ship and you got to turn it around, right? So when you think about that, that's not, it's easier said than done.
Yeah,
right.
It's not easy to do.
But it just kind of drawing back to my personal story, my husband comes from a very positive family, and I thank his mom, Nita, on a regular basis. I'm like, you and Jeff's dad just have poured so much positivity in my life, and you know what? In essence, they showed me a better way. And so I have found myself that I used to be kind of like the Diane Downer. I could be that, but I am much more positive. Why? Because I had that in my life. So for someone, in answer to your question, Raquel, for somebody that really deals and they realize, wow, I'm critical, I think you have to start first thing in the morning with what we talked about, that affirmation, you know, and just believe in who you are and speak positive things about yourself. You know, look in the mirror. I am unique. I am wonderful. I am loved. I am precious. Because we all are, right? Even when we look in there, we don't see that totally, but that's really who we are. And then just to start at home, start speaking those positive things into your children. Ladies, it takes 21 days to create a habit. So in 21 days, you can turn that ship around.
You know what I do sometimes to myself is I evaluate myself. I think evaluation yourself is very important. I mean, ask yourself, okay, what I have done today. Have I hurt somebody else's feeling today? Can I be a better person tomorrow?
Yes.
I do that to myself. And yeah, it's true. Sometimes also we are so critical of ourselves. Oh my gosh, I'm getting, you know, big. But, you know, we need to stop that really and think all this positive that we can share it to.
And sometimes
you're
not
right,
feed
people.
into somebody else's
Yes.
criticism, because we know we work in the community and somebody could really be having a bad day.
Right.
And if we go right in with them, but sometimes it's best just to be quiet and just say, you know what, at the end, we still got a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes it changes a person just by the little words or that smile.
Right. Well, when you talk, Diana, about just being in the public, with the public, you know, and that kind of goes to the teacher piece too. They who knows what happened in the first 30 minutes of their day, and I feel like we can be, for just that day and just that moment, we can be that positive person that's going to totally shift their entire day. Now, ladies, I like to call those divine appointments. And I think that we're in certain places at certain times just to speak a good word into somebody's life. It could be the cashier, right, at Walmart. It could be the barista at Starbucks. You know, it could be whoever. And when we choose to be positive, and like one of the things I like to do is like if they have a name tag, I will call them by their name. Why? Because they like for someone to acknowledge they said my name. That's just like for them, it's huge.
Yeah.
But
There's a reason why they're wearing a name tag.
exactly. And so just to be that positive in the day, and you know, just to speak something positive into their life. We ladies, we never know the impact of a smile, of a positive word, you know.
Good morning.
Exactly. Exactly.
Truth.
Yeah.
You know.
And it
Sometimes
doesn't
stopping
take
to ask
any
somebody.
effort.
Yeah.
It does not take
Right.
any effort
Yet
at
again,
all.
these are all free. Do it.
Yes.
Exactly.
You know, also while I'm driving the freeway, I don't know, I haven't, and I see a billboard and it says, be kind, pass it along. That's huge.
It is
Yeah.
huge.
That is huge.
Because there's usually a ripple effect, right? Worse, it's like the people that go like through the drive-through and they'll
I was
pay
just
for the
thinking
meal,
same thing.
and then they get to the drive-through to pay, and they're paying for the meal for the person behind them, and it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell a funny story on that one there. So my drink was $3.20.
Okay.
The person behind me got like a whole day, 2 dozen donuts and coffees. I was like, okay, I guess I got
That's funny. Yeah.
but I made their day, okay?
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. Well, and I'm sure it was a good investment,
It was a good
Raquel.
investment. I made more than one person's day on that, I'm sure.
That's funny. That's really funny.
But you're right. It's a ripple effect on that. You know, just like when I walk into a room for a meeting and everybody's looking all sad, then I'm like, oh, I'm feeling sad now. But if you walk in a room and everybody's talking and happy, then I'm like, oh, hey, where am I going to go sit and chat with? But it really makes a difference. Attitude makes a difference.
But you taught me that when you walk into a room, almost own the room. So no matter what the atmosphere, let it become subjected to you, to your happiness and stuff.
Yeah.
Now I'm one of these people. I'll say good morning. How are you? I really wait for your response. I want to know, how are you?
Exactly.
And I texted her yesterday, Raquel, I'm sad. Call me. And so she did.
Yeah.
I was fine. I need to ask her something.
I told her, I was like, why are you sad? I was between meetings too. I was like, I got to call her.
That was caller for Sisterhood is all about.
Yeah, that's what it is. And you could tell when someone's having a bad day when you're talking about the barista. You could tell when they're overwhelmed and they're like, oh my gosh, how can I help you?
Yeah. It's just their voice sometimes.
Yeah,
Even
just take a breath, honey. Take a breath. Take a breath. I'll buy you a drink if you need one.
That's funny.
You got to really know
Engage,
that person you're talking to.
Exactly.
Waitresses, for example, that's one of my pet peeves is when somebody treats a waitress or wait staff bad. You know, when they're complaining about the way the food was cooked,
Go home and
she didn't. Yeah, the waitress didn't cook that. Why
Right.
take it out on the waitress?
Yeah.
She's making $2.35 an hour to
Yeah.
serve you. Come on,
So we need to go back to when you said in Denmark, everybody was nice.
everybody was kind.
But it's probably where they that's their culture.
That's their culture. Yes.
So I often wonder even here, what happened? Why are we so angry? Why are we such in a rush? What is going on?
Yes, where we don't even know our neighbors
Yeah.
anymore.
Diane, I think you really hit on it when you said, why are we in such a rush? Earlier in our conversation, I had talked about how we don't know you're right, we don't know our neighbors. Gone is the day of go sit on your neighbor's porch, have the conversation, find out what's going on. We're social media, our culture. everything has gotten us away from the sense of community to the centric sense of self. And a lot of times because of that, then, going back to the whole criticism thing, it's harder for us to deal with criticism because we don't have those relationships. Relationships are just, they're very, they feed the soul. They really feed the soul and they feed the spirit. And I think a lot of what's happened and what's happening in our culture and our society have led us to experience more of this criticism. And we just, to the folks that are watching, the encouragement is be the change you want to see. Be positive, leave your fingerprint on the world. If that's all you got for today, just leave your fingerprint on the world because it's going to impact somebody's life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
So I'll challenge our viewers out there is say at least one nice thing every day to a stranger you have not met before.
And yourself.
And yourself. Tell yourself every morning you wake up, you love yourself, hug yourself, whatever. Lean in the mirror and kiss yourself, whatever you got to do. You are beautiful. You are smart. It reminds me of that movie, The Help.
Yes.
How she told that child, because the mother was very critical of that child because of her weight. And it broke my heart. But
The maid.
the maid
Yep.
told her she was smart, she was beautiful, and that baby loved her for that. Just find one person every day.
Yep.
Yep.
And then be mindful.
yes.
Because if you're in a rush, you're the one in a rush. You knew you had to be somewhere at a certain time, right? So just leave on time. But if you're late, just breathe through it all. Because when you get there, you ought to be grateful that you made it and not got in an accident.
Right.
I love
right.
that.
So I'm just one of these people. I like to be positive. Even with what I'm going through, there's still some good out of everything that we go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
To
Absolutely.
be positive.
Take time, like they say, take time to smell the roses.
Yes.
Don't be rushed.
Yes.
You're right.
And I want to add to that too, Diana, what you said about, just things that happen, but you were talking about like if you're rushed or whatever, and things that we deal with in our life, even when it's difficult. I feel like one of the things that we have to remember, and some of this may go to the criticism piece, is that there are seasons that we go through in life that are very difficult. But because we go through those difficult seasons, then we're able to help somebody else somewhere down the road that's going through that same season. Now we can be critical. We can, we could say, well, Lord, why am I going through this? Or why am I dealing with this? With God, there are no mistakes, and he uses everything. And that's one of the things that I love. While it's difficult to go through the difficult times, we're going to be able, because of the experience, to speak positivity into somebody else's life who's dealing, with those same situations.
And we as women go through a lot.
Oh,
So I'm going to have a lot to tell somebody, right? That's what you're saying. I'm like, Lord, because I'm like, I turned 60 not long ago. I was like, where did the time go? And I am 60.
Yeah.
Great day. Now I'm telling everybody, y'all better enjoy every day of your life.
exactly.
And you know what, Dan? I think that's why grandchildren are so special, because you realize at that point how fast they grow.
Yes.
Because your children, you're living in the moment, and then one day they're grown and out the house, and then when you got a grandchild, you're like, you get another chance.
Yeah.
at
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at
Cherish
Princess
those
Cheyenne.
moments.
I was like, I swear she was
She's
just 2.
3. Oh my gosh, yes. Time moves fast. Then my mom always said the older you get, the faster time goes. She was not kidding. A blink of an eye, a year is gone.
That is true.
And to watch her little personality, I was just looking at her,
She's just
her
like
grandbaby.
oh
I
my
was like,
gosh.
look at there.
She just like me. They call her Mini Gaga. Mini Gaga. She was walking like she owns that world.
Yes.
So cute. But you're right. I mean, time is precious. But you guys know I always say that's one thing we're equal at. Every day we wake up with the same amount of time. as the person next to you. It's what you do with that time that's going to set you apart.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So be kind when you can.
Yes. And criticism is something, it is tough, not even going back to the guy that killed the girl. The criticism there, did somebody say something to somebody before he got on the bus?
That's
you got to be mindful because you don't know what you're saying to somebody. You could save a life just by being nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about it earlier one time, just by being nice.
Yeah. I said, good morning. This story you might not have heard, Diane, but I was in the military time station in Iwakuni, Japan. I left from my workspace to go over to the headquarters building. When I was walking across the field, another Marine was coming towards me. And all I said was him was good morning. It was a little bit after color, so it's still early. He stopped and thanked me
Wow.
for seeing him. And he was on his way to go commit suicide. He left his office, was heading over, and I stopped and said good morning to him. He said, thank you for seeing me.
You see?
And and after that, every chance I got, I say good morning to someone, good evening, good day. I mean, whatever, because it could change a person's life.
Absolutely.
In his case, it changed his life. I mean, he would have been a statistic.
Yeah.
Great story.
That is a great story.
Yeah. Yep.
I
And
just
that always
wanna-
stayed
yeah.
with me.
I just want to share to our viewers, for those of you who are being criticized, please do not let it define you. Please do not let it use that to better yourselves up. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Know who you are. Learn who you are. Get a relationship with your own self.
Yes.
Sometimes people don't have a relationship with their own self. They don't know who they are.
That's true. It's very true.
That's a good point, Diana. And how does a person find themselves?
Yes.
Well, I think again, going back to the culture that we live in, it's easier for us to be on a phone and going through Facebook or any social media platform. It's just easier than to really sit with ourselves and like read a book, take a walk, whatever. You're right. How can you love yourself if you don't know who you are? And I love the statement about you have to form a relationship with yourself. And it makes a world of difference. It absolutely does, because then who we are with other people begins to become our true self. Who are we really? I heard this statement a long time ago. God don't make no junk. He doesn't. And, sometimes we have a hard time saying, well, I'm not junk, depending on, again, our formative years and what we're raised in. But it's like, you are worthy. You're special. You have something to offer. And I think every day we need to remember that. So,
Very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that takes me back when we talk about those formative years. And if a child is living in a very critical household, I love those teachers that welcome those kids into the classroom where they got their own little high fives, handshakes, or whatever. I love seeing that because it's so welcoming. Like I want to go stand in that line and be part of that group. It's just so positive, and that's just. If a child wakes up in the morning and, he's getting yelled at or whatever for not dressing right, not eating right, hair not combed right, whatever the case is, but he goes to that environment and it could just totally change his day, outlook on the day, just by that.
And I think that's another word of encouragement to our viewers too today, is that every day, make it a point to say something positive to your children. Send them out the door with a word of encouragement, because you don't know what your child is going to face during the day.
Exactly.
And so let's just, let's help them kind of get their game face on, but let's do it with just a lot of love. And, it's like the mama bird pushing her baby birds out of the nest. Maybe she says a little prayer. I don't know, but we certainly just say that positive word and send them forward and see what happens.
We know everybody's busy, but what is 5 seconds? I love
Exactly.
you. Have a great day.
You have a great day.
It's not even a 4 seconds.
Right.
So
Or get involved in the school system. Just kind of like me now. Get involved because they're helping the positivity that's there, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
All right. Great session today,
Great.
guys. Great topic. A lot to discuss and practice, change our everyday lives. So I'll take my own challenge on. I'll definitely do it to everybody I see. I'm going to try to do a positive comment for them.
21 days,
21 days.
because I have it.
Yeah.
there you go.
I got that. So we'll see you guys on
Thank
September
you, Diane.
24th. Diane, you was absolutely amazing.
Oh.
We're grateful for you.
Thank you for
Great
having
discussion
me.
with our sisterhood. But on September 24th, we will be back talking about budgeting and finance
Yes.
just before the holidays.
Yes, we
Okay.
need that.
We need that because we want you guys to take care of yourself so you can take some vacations
Yeah.
at some point.
Be
So we'll
stress
see.
free.
Lord, yeah, let me hit the lottery.
I ain't gonna lie, I bought those tickets like crazy when that was like $1.8 billion. I was like, give me just a portion of that.
Well, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.